to fit this one in because we are dealing with quite a lot of issues. So it's an extra meeting. I would like to say welcome to our 16 plus members that or members of the public and councillors that are online currently. Welcome. It's very nice to know you're there. If I could move to the first item on the agenda, could I please remind you to speak very clearly into your microphone like I am, so that the people online can hear us. Thank you very much. So without further ado, I move to item number 1 on the agenda, which is to confirm as a true record the record of decision of the meeting held on the 11th of November. Could I have somebody propose those minutes? Thank you, Councillor Paul Fuller.
Thank you, Chairman.
Is there a seconder? Councillor Phil Jordan. Thank you very much. I would just say for the people watching, because I know I was watching last night and it was quite difficult. In the room we have Cabinet Member Councillor Debbie Andre, Councillor Jonathan Bacon, Councillor Paul Fuller, Councillor Chris Jarman, Councillor Julie Jones-Evans, Councillor Phil Jordan, Councillor Carl Love, Councillor Ian Stevens, myself. We have the Chief Exec John Metcalfe, and we have Sarah, our lovely lady in Democratic Services. We have the reporter from the County Press, and we have Chris Ashman, Director for Regen. Those are the members in the room. Thank you very much. So I move on to item 2 of the agenda, which is declarations of interest. Are there any declarations, please? Councillor Phil Jordan, declarations of interest.
Oh, sorry, Chair. On the Ryde Harbour.
Councillor Ian Stevens.
As a Ryde Town Council member, non-pecuniary interest in Ryde Harbour.
Thank you, Ian. I should have said, as I'm a Ryde Town Council councillor also, I would have a conflict of interest. Thank you.
Okay. Thank you very much. That's 2 declarations of interest. So we move on to item 3 on the agenda, which is public question times. We've had no written questions from members of the public, and presumably members of the public can't ask them either. Oh, only if you come in person. Okay, so we can't ask them. Councillor Chris Jarman.
Leader, should we take a vote on the minutes?
I'm so sorry. I skipped ahead there. Could we please, all those people, right, all those in agreement? Fabulous, that's unanimous, thank you. Okay, so we move on to item number 4 on the agenda, which is the Chairman's announcement. So we have published a consultation on the forthcoming council budget, which is due to be debated and decided upon in February. The last few years have seen a process of managing decline. In recent years, budgets have simply aimed to tighten the council's belt further and further, trying to do what is necessary with ever-reducing funds and mistakenly describing the process as savings rather than stating the reality of it being an ongoing process of cuts. This process cannot continue. At some point, it is no longer sustainable and something will eventually fail. We cannot do that to our island. We look to invigorate the council and develop a financial strategy built on growth, not cuts. If we fail to do this, then key services that support our residents, our island and our community will either cease or cease to be sustainably adequate for the need and demand. However, any large vehicle has to put the brakes on first and then, when under control, change direction. As such, in February, we hope to achieve the change of direction we need. We need to see, encourage and develop growth so that we can start to bring the capacity to do positive things for the island back into the system. We need to work on innovative ways of generating income to the council to help fund vital services and offset the financial impact of the continuing cuts to our funding by central government. This year, we've had to identify savings with our hands pretty well tied to some extent by the previous administration, which has left us with the need to make £3 million worth of savings from the budget. Nevertheless, we've sought to do this in the least damaging way possible. Our approach aims to protect whatever we possibly can. Doing so means we can then start the process of rebuilding and regenerating the council and our island community from a sound financial basis, rather than simply managing an inevitable financial decline. Alongside this, we will actively seek the recognition of our unique position by government and to see that reflected in a way that we are treated as an island and not part of a mainland designation. However, recent experience shows we cannot rely on that happening anytime soon. So, our primary aim must be to focus on generating what we need to thrive, survive, and driving our island economy through actions and initiatives, mindful of the services we need to support and the unique financial pressures associated with delivering services on our island. I would also like to comment on the discussion and decision at the corporate scrutiny last night, whereby the Conservative controlled committee asked that cabinet members should make delegated decisions in private on some matters. This may have been the way the previous Conservative administration chose to do things, but this is not how the Alliance administration chooses to conduct itself. The previous administration was heavily criticised for its lack of openness and transparency. We find it pretty ironic that they now seek to impose their heavily denounced and unsatisfactory approach on us. The Scrutiny Committee can determine how they conduct their business and whether they choose to read and consider cabinet papers. The Alliance approach is driven by what is in the public interest, not by what is more convenient for councillors. The Alliance believe that our island deserves better than what has gone before, and that is how we will conduct our business. Thank you. Okay, there's going to be a slight change now because Councillor Carl Love has to leave the meeting early tonight. So I am going to bring forward item 9 on the agenda. So instead of going straight to item 5, I'm going to be going to item 9A, which is the strategy for the provision of support within safe accommodation. So Councillor Love, could you please speak?
Thank you, Chair. First of all, I want to thank Jamie Brenchley from the Housing and Needs and Homelessness Directorate for his work on writing this document for us tonight. This report has had an independent needs assessment. It has been done independently by Aaron New Dawn, who are independent consultants. It's been approved by the Domestic Abuse Forum, and it's been consulted widely with users of the service, both current and in the past. So it is a procedural matter which we have to do every year, and the recommendation is to approve the Isle of Wight Council Safer Accommodation Strategy for 2025, and that's what I ask members to do.
And could I remind people, please, that in the meeting the last night of the scrutiny, the report was noted. Thank you. So Councillor Love has proposed that. Is there a seconder, please? Councillor Ian Stevens, thank you. Seconded. Is there anyone that wishes to speak to this? No? Could we? Councillor Brodie, did you wish to speak to this item?
No.
Yes.
Oh,
Chair. Chair, this is disgraceful. I signalled on the last item I'd like to ask a question of you, and I've just been ignored. Councillors have been told not to attend tonight, yet there is a member of the corporate management team sat at the side there. And I find it quite appalling the way you're trying to run this meeting if you're not going to allow people to ask questions. Is this supposedly openness and transparency?
We certainly didn't have it last night, Chair, at scrutiny meeting where cabinet members refused.
I'm not asking you, Phil Jordan, I'm asking the leader of the council.
Okay, what is,
They're supposed to be spotters for people indicating they wish to speak.
Yeah. Like last night when I was refused to speak also, Jeff.
This is a disgrace, an absolute disgrace.
As
bad as
deputy
the last
leader, I'm
administration.
speaking to the leader and to assembled people, whether they be attending virtually or in person. I believe, and I might stand corrected, but the attendance or non-attendance within the council building is down to personal choice.
That is
Now,
not what we were asked to
excuse
do,
me,
Ian.
excuse
We were
me.
asked by Mr. Wiggins.
Councillor Brodie, if you let me finish, then you can come back. But if we're talking, oh, Councillor Brodie has left. Oh, well, I'm sorry about that. Hopefully you'll get my Christmas card and my good wishes. Thank you.
okay, moving on, please. I'm going to move on because Councillor Love, as we said earlier, it is very difficult to keep an eye on the computer, and also if somebody is speaking, you can't keep just bringing people in as they wish. There is appropriate timing, and I apologise to Councillor Brodie if his hand went up, and it's very difficult to try and do that and chair a meeting at the same time. Okay.
Can I just say, Chair, I think part of the confusion must be that there's been nothing on the agenda so far at which one would look for speakers from the audience, because we've only had the minutes, declarations of interest, public questions and your announcements. This was the first item to speak to, and you turned to him at the right time. So I'm not quite sure what the problem is. It's a little unclear to me.
Okay, Councillor Fuller, Councillor Love, can you switch your microphone off, please?
Thank you very much, Chairman. I'm in full support of this policy. It is important for people on the island. Domestic abuse is something that is a cancer within our society, and everything that we can do as a council to take the lead in addressing that is a good thing. So I am totally behind this policy, and thank you, Councillor Love, for bringing this forward. Thank you, Carl.
Okay, so we move on to that has been proposed and seconded. All those in favour, please. Yeah, we're all right. Okay, that's unanimous. Thank you to Councillor Love. Next, we will bring through item 9B, which is the review of the Public Health Partnership function. If you could just speak to that. So there was a recommendation at scrutiny, but you're going to mention that now. Thank you.
thank you. I would have been happy to have taken Councillor Brodie's questions if it had remained online, and I'm sorry that he felt necessary to disappear. So,
Jeff, did you? I'm sorry, Councillor Brodie. Did you have a question about the safe accommodation?
Councillor P.C. Wilcox, I was cut off for some reason. I don't know why, and it's taken me a while to get back on. I'm not getting satisfactory answers here about the lack of democracy in the way you're conducting this meeting. Councillor Bacon was saying that there was no reason for anything to be said about what you made under Chairman's announcements. I entirely disagree. There is something I'd like to ask you about that. You're just speeding through your cabinet. The whole thing is being mismanaged.
I'm sorry.
Now, am I allowed to ask a question on item number 4 for this agenda?
Councillor Brodie, if you could please raise the question under the members' question time, item 13, please. That would be much easier.
No, it's relevant to what your political statement under item 4 about the nature of your administration.
Okay, Councillor Brodie, I will allow you to ask the question.
Thank you. At last. You need to get your act together, but I am extremely unhappy that we've been discouraged from attending these meetings and there's a member of the corporate management team sat at the side there. And I hope Mr. Metcalfe will deal with that. My question is, can you, in the light of what you said, can you explain how and why your administration has lost its way over its promise to be open and transparent? For example, we regularly have instances of media releases regarding cabinet plans issued before the relevant report has been drawn to other councillors' attention. And yesterday we had a response to a report to Corporate Scrutiny Committee on the draft island planning strategy circulated during and after the meeting, despite it containing references to QC advice. Surely an open and transparent council is imperative in a no overall control council. Would you agree with me that it is time to restore a committee system of governance to this local authority and to get rid of this undemocratic, dictatorial cabinet? Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Brodie. I will give you a written response. Thank you.
That's
okay,
what Dave
Councillor,
Stewart always
Councillor
used to do.
Love,
Well
could I
done, Laura.
please
Dave
ask,
Stewart, Mark
item
2.
9B, which is the review of the Public Health Partnership, please.
Thank you, Chair. So this is the review of the Public Health Partnership function between the Isle of Wight Council and Hampshire County Council. I propose to defer this paper on the very good recommendations of Councillor Lilly, taking into account his comments from the scrutiny. The report will be further reviewed and then referred to the Policy and Scrutiny Committee for Health and Social Care, who will then report back to the Cabinet for a final decision to be made in due course.
Is there a seconder for that? Councillor Phil Jordan. Okay, does anyone wish to speak to that? No, Councillor Love.
I will, Chair.
Okay.
Very briefly, thank you, Chair. In view of the last few moments, I wasn't going to speak, but I think I will, in the sense that I'm happy to second the idea of deferring this, because this was spoken about at scrutiny last night, who expressed concerns, and in our openness and transparency, we are going to defer this so that others elsewhere can scrutinise this decision. Thank you, Chair.
And if I may point out that that is my whole point, is that I believe that that is the right and proper thing to do. We are listening to what was said to last night's meeting and responding to that and giving other people the opportunity to comment on it. So I refer you to my recommendation.
Okay, all those in favour, please. Okay, that's unanimous, thank you. So we move on to item 5A of the report, which is the member for Children's Services, Education and Lifelong Skills. That's Councillor Debbie Andre. So item 5A is the closure of Carisbrooke College Sixth Form, please.
Thank you, Leader. Since the 1st of September 2016, the island's sixth form has been administered as part of Medina College. Prior to September 2016, the administration of the island's sixth form was managed by Carisbrooke College and Medina College together, and sixth form students were allocated to either Carisbrooke College or Medina College. All the students allocated to Carisbrooke College have now left the sixth form, and all sixth form students are now registered under Medina College. There are no post-16 students registered under Carisbrooke College. This proposal will have a positive impact on both the short and long-term future of our young people and future generations on the Isle of Wight. All students under the Federation, which is Carisbrooke, Medina and the Sixth Form College, including those attending Carisbrooke College, will continue to access the full range of events at the Sixth Form. And I would stress that this is effectively a paper exercise, that there are no places being lost because of this. A consultation process, I can confirm, has been undertaken in line with the Department for Education's publication, making significant changes, prescribed alterations to maintain schools for 4 weeks, as set out in the regulations between the 28th of September and the 9th of November 2021. And I can confirm that no representations were received in response to this consultation. At corporate scrutiny last night, this paper was noted. So I therefore bring the recommendation to Cabinet that Cabinet approves the alteration of the upper age range so as to remove the sixth form at Carisbrooke College with effect from 31st of December 2021.
Okay, thank you very much. I look for a seconder on that proposal. Councillor Jonathan Bacon, do you wish to add anything, Councillor Bacon?
No, I don't think so. Thank you.
Thank you. Is there anyone that wishes to speak to that? Councillor Love?
I actually have to leave, so I'm not speaking to your paper, but thank the member for that. I want to wish you all a very happy Christmas and New Year as I now sadly depart for another meeting.
Okay, so we move on to, so we need to take a vote on that, please. Oh right, just to confirm there's no hands being raised and questions on that. So we move on to the decision. So all those in favour, please show. Thank you. Is there anyone against? No, that's you. Not, it's carried. Councillor Andre, we stay with you for item 5B, which is the lowering of the age range of Hunnyhill Primary School, which I think is a good news story, apparently. Thank you.
Thank you, Leader. It is a good news story indeed. Just to put in context, an existing preschool on the site, Jigsaw Preschool, is closing. But the proposal is for staff to move across to a new preschool that will be set up by Hunnyhill Primary School, which is the site of the original preschool. The director of the preschool and parents support this application to transfer all management, administration and governance to the school. And the aim is to ensure continuity of care for those children already attending and to keep an on-site preschool for the community. And I would stress that because of this, if Cabinet do agree to this, it will mean that the preschool will stay, it will be with the school, and it will ensure that continuity of care. And again, I can confirm that a consultation process has been undertaken in line with the prescribed government publications for 6 weeks, as set out in the regulations, between the 28th of September and the 9th of November. And again, no representations were received in response to the consultation. And I would like to actually thank the staff of Hunnyhill for stepping in here and ensuring that those children will, age 3 to 4, will still have that excellent preschool provision. So my recommendation that I bring to Cabinet is that Cabinet approves the lowering of the age range to 3 years old at Hunnyhill Primary School with effect from the 1st of January 2022. Thank you, Leader.
Thank you very much. So do I have a seconder for that proposal? Thank you very much. Councillor Jonathan Bacon. Is there anything you wish to add, Councillor Bacon?
No.
Okay. Is there anyone that wishes to speak to that in the chamber? No. So there's no one indicating. Right. So could I please have your vote on that in those in favour? Thank you very much. That's agreed. Thank you. So we move on to item 6A of the report, which is the Cabinet Member for the Environment, Heritage and Waste Management. Councillor Jonathan Bacon, 6A is Dark Skies Initiative.
Thank you, Chair. This paper is something of a labour of love for me, I must say. I first became involved in this process when I took over as chair of the AONB in 2017. And I could wax lyrical, especially at a time of year when the ability to see a certain star was really quite important a few years ago. New Testament could have been rather different if we'd had a lot of light pollution back then. But things have been worked on in relation to the Dark Skies project, if I call it that, since, as I say, around about 2017, to bring forward a mechanism and the ability to seek formal accreditation for part of the island to be a Dark Skies Park. And this is an international accreditation. The International Dark Skies Association is based in Arizona. So this is a very much universally recognised accreditation we're talking about. Perhaps before going on further, I would, through that process of work, like to thank a couple of bodies who've been particularly involved. The Vectist Astronomical Society, who did put in a lot of work checking light levels and so on, and also the AONB unit, and particularly Joel Bateman, who is someone who probably shy away from credit of this sort, but I think his drive and the work he put in should be recognised, as it has really been key in getting us to where we are. I'm not going to go through the paper line by line, obviously. There have been some comments on the area that has been chosen to be pursued for the formal accreditation. And yes, it would be nice to have a larger formally accredited area. But as explained, and was explained again last night at the Scrutiny Committee, this area has been arrived at after 4 years' work to find a viable area that can be managed in accordance with what the International Dark Skies Association require. And that means we are staying within AONB boundaries and also looking for an area in which the lighting can be altered at reasonable expense. We may be able to expand the formal area in future, but what we need to do now is to get the formal accreditation where we can, because what I hope to emphasise is that the whole island can still benefit from the accreditation, even though it appears to be geographically limited. That's because policies supporting the Dark Skies Park will apply across the island, and also, of course, benefits to tourism are across the island as well. Those benefits are, of course, set out in paragraph 5 of the report, where it talks about attracting more visitors and the economic benefits that can bring, with particularly the example of the benefits that Galloway obtained, Galloway Forest Park in Scotland, when they became a dark sky park. If Galloway can get that sort of return on investment, I think the island could do significantly better. And that's not trying to be offensive to Galloway, but we're a bit warmer down here. Of course, also, this is something that will support biodiversity, as paragraph 5C points out, and will benefit our wildlife. And I think we've got past the idea that this is about just turning the lights off. It's much more complex than that. It's about having the right light in the right places, and also about saving waste from unnecessary lighting, and indeed disturbance to wildlife and humans from unnecessary lighting. It also means, putting it simply, that we can pursue formal international recognition that we have one of the best light shows on the planet right above our heads. So, Chairman, as I could talk for hours about this, but members have read the paper. That's what I'd like to say, and I'd like to put forward the recommendation, which is option 1. I don't think I need to read it out in full, but it's to support the necessary financial support from the Council, preparation of a lighting code, and annual monitoring to support the application we'd like to see put forward. I'll look for a seconder.
Yep, seconder, Councillor Julie Jones-Evans. Thank you very much.
Would you mind if I said a few
Yes,
words, Leader?
yes, please.
Thank you. Thank you, Councillor Baker, for bringing this forward and making this happen. And say this has been going on for a few years now, so it's wonderful to actually finally make a decision on this. And as you point out, it's very significant to our tourism offer on the island. We've already got a great page on Visit Isle of Wight, where it tells you best spots to go to. You can download a guide there as well to see what stars you can see at certain times of year. And you know, and even we can see the Milky Way, Cassiopeia, Orion, the Plough can all be seen from our skies. I had my first taste of dark sky tourism 20 years ago at Uluru in the middle of the Australian desert, and it was a fantastic evening. It was something that always stayed with me. But as Councillor Bacon said, it's actually a free show. It's there for everyone to enjoy. There's no barriers there. So this is going to be a real boon to already a draw to the island. Bit more research. Just got the Galloway one, but the Northumberland Dark Skies Park did most recent survey was 2017, where they found there's a £25 million boost to local economy and a creation of 450 jobs. So this isn't to be sniffed at. It's very exciting. And if it's a cloudy day or it's cloudy evening, or if it's going to be wet or anything, don't forget you can always go to Fort Victoria as well, for the planetarium there. So I think it's very exciting for the island all round. And thank you very much for bringing this forward, Councillor Bacon. It's got my 100% support.
That's superb. Is there anyone else wishing to speak on dark skies? No. Okay, that's lovely. So then we move to the vote. All those in favour, please. That's unanimous. Thank you very much. Thank you, Councillor Bacon. We move on, and what was it? It was noted, wasn't it, the dark skies at last night's meeting. So we move on to item 6B, which is the garden waste subscription.
Thank you, Chair. Again, I'll just highlight a few points rather than seeking to go through the paper line by line. One might anticipate that a decision such as this would be part of the budget in February, but as is explained in the paper on, I think it's page 2, in a few paragraphs, the technicalities of a price rise require a decision now, so that necessary deadlines can be met. This issue was discussed at scrutiny yesterday, and some comments were made which were responded to, and I think as a result of that the committee, as I recall, made no recommendation to us about the paper. It's fair to say it was pointed out that there's a risk that whenever a price is increased, whatever commodity one is talking about, you run the risk of losing customers. But a balance is being made in the recommendation being put forward for a price increase. And I should also note, which wasn't, I don't think, highlighted at the scrutiny committee last night, that as the paper says, the price will, if we raise it this evening, it will then be held for 2 years. We will still be a competitive service. And more importantly, and this is perhaps key to the balance in the thought process, the increase that is proposed will give us the ability to extend the service. We are very conscious that there are some 1,200 people on the waiting list wanting to use this service. And there were some very sage comments made by Councillor Quigley yesterday, who pointed out that what is being proposed will mean more people can access a useful service, which has the benefits of keeping vehicles off the road, and the extra use of the service could take pressure off other areas. So, as I say, I know members will have read the paper. It may not be a popular proposal to make, but as I say, it has been very carefully considered, and for the reasons I've set out on the balance of considerations of the gain that this can bring us, I would put forward the recommendation of option 2. Again, the option is quite lengthy, but it is essentially, as said, just on page 1, paragraph 4, that the annual subscription cost be increased by £2 a month And as I say, I hope that will bring the benefits that I've tried to outline. Thank you.
And I suppose I should have declared an interest in the green waste subscription because actually I use it and I love it. So yeah, sorry, could you add that to the declarations of interest, please? And Councillor Julie Jones-Evans, Councillor Paul Fuller and Councillor Debbie Andre. Didn't even give it a thought, but yeah, superb service. It saves getting a lot of rose pricks in your hands and everywhere else where it goes straight into a plastic container. Okay, do we have a seconder for that one, please? Councillor Ian Stevens, would you wish to speak to it?
I'm just lining my microphone up because I would like to speak to this. I'd like to draw Cabinet's attention to page 21, paragraph 19, consultation. Now, we're being told from all quarters, or quite a few quarters, not all quarters, that we're not transparent, we're not doing this, we're not doing that. But if you read paragraph 19, and for those who are tuned in virtually, I will read it. It says, the fees and charges increase for services are normally a decision made internally by the director of the service in consultation with service managers and councillors. However, the Cabinet Manager for Waste has consulted with the Cabinet and Cabinet members requested that the decision was brought to them for discussion and decision. Cabinet members, this is paragraph 19, Cabinet members have requested that the decision is brought to Cabinet for decision and discussion. Now, that is the openness this administration is dealing with. And sometimes we are criticised for bringing these things to Cabinet, and sometimes we are told that we're not bringing enough transparency and open discussion. And I would like to say that obviously I support the paper, but I would just like to point out that what we are doing within the Alliance administration is openness, transparency wherever we can, and no delegated decisions behind closed doors that we put up with for 8 years of two administrations when we were not, how can I say, enlightened in certain areas, and we're unpicking the past as we go. And the first 6 months have been, or first 6, 7 months have been extremely enlightening as far as those former decisions have gone. So I'm going to leave it at that. Leader, I'd just like to say that paragraphs 19 and 20 of the paper is illuminating as they are with the decision-making progress of this administration. Thank you.
Okay, would anyone else like to speak? Councillor Debbie Andre.
Thank you, Leader. I'd just like to highlight paragraph 26, which is shows the impact on our young people and future generations, that in growing a strong green garden waste subscription service that has commercial services, provides increased employment opportunities for future generations in the waste sector. And I think this is an important element. As a market sector, there's an ongoing need for training to be made available to increase employment opportunities in, for example, HGV driving, heavy plant use, logistics and management of services, both in waste and finance. And that, I believe, is another genuine benefit. So I am in favour of this. Thank you.
That's good. Councillor Andrew Garrett, I see he's got his hand raised. Councillor Garrett.
Thank you, Chair. The new corporate plan, of course, was adopted by full council in the last few weeks, and one of those things that it did adopt, and I welcome the support of the administration in doing this, was to have consideration to the overarching effect of any decision on addressing poverty on the Isle of Wight. People in poverty do have gardens. People in poverty do wish to dispose of their garden waste. I see no reference to impact on poverty in this report. I may have overlooked it, but I have done a word search just in case. Can I ask that in future discussions that the cabinet members do insist upon a discussion on the impact on poverty and people in poverty. Gardening is a free activity for many people, particularly those on low incomes, and we should not be excluding people from a service like this through their income side of things. So we need to look at ways in which we can help people on low incomes access services like this. Whilst for many of us, a couple of pounds a month for those who are enjoying the service may seem a fairly small amount. Those of us who have heard from those who are living in poverty will know that even small amounts like this can have a significant impact on their household budgets. So I just make that plea to you that all cabinet reports now start to address this matter of poverty, even if in the end the balance is found in favour of increasing fees. So thank you, Chair.
Councillor Bacon, would you like to respond?
Thank you, Chair. I'd like to assure Councillor Garrett, that very much that has been part of the consideration. As Councillor Stevens has highlighted, this was deemed to be something that should be discussed and has been discussed at some depth within the Cabinet and with staff to try and get to the proposals in this paper. I absolutely take his point about poverty being headlined as a consideration in papers, and I think an instruction has been given to take that forward. It does, without diminishing that in any way, it does perhaps allow us, though, to mention something I think has been implicitly, if not explicitly, referred to. The papers we have before us now do refer to impact on young people and future generations, and also, if we look at paragraph 27 of this paper, which again I was alluding to without citing directly, that we look to the climate, environment and UNESCO Biosphere impact of any decision we are making. And I'd hope that, as Councillor Garrett suggests, we add poverty to that list of considerations that we should have in all papers. And I see the Chief Executive nodding that instruction's accepted and will be going forward. It's just hasn't quite appeared explicitly yet, but it will be there, I understand, in due course. So thank you very much for that, Councillor Garrett. And as I say, very much noted, but the balance in the recommendation I'm putting forward is for the wider benefits, but I'd hope it would not have a deleterious impact on the service and its use generally. Thank you.
Councillor Jordan?
Thank you, Chair. I wonder if Councillor Bacon could remind me, certainly, what the current cost is of taking garden waste to the waste disposal.
To be honest, I could not. I would have to call on an officer to do that. I don't think there's any charge at all, is there?
Thank you. It's zero charge,
I think we have to book, don't we?
Thank you. Yeah.
Councillor Jones-Evans.
Yeah, not wish to prolong this unnecessarily, but I believe that as a council, we've also in the past, maybe we still do, encourage composting as well, where we can, where people can at home. So there's just different ways that we can dispose of garden waste as well. But thank you for Councillor Garrett for raising that. But that was really at the fundamental core of what the cabinet discussions were prior coming to today.
Okay, so if we're done on the discussion on the green waste, could all those, are we permitted to vote if we own a bin? Are we? Okay, all those in favour of the subscription, please show. Thank you, that's carried. Thank you. Okay, so we move on to item 7A on the agenda, which is the report of the Cabinet Member for Strategic Finance, Corporate Resources and Transformational Change. Not a lot there then, Councillor Jarman. And first up is item 7A, which is the Local Council Tax Support Scheme, please.
Yes, thank you, Leader. Perhaps my title could form an abbreviation in some way. I'm sure somebody could come up with some interesting shortcuts in terms of using those characters at a later date. The next item has occupied a great deal of time, debate and consideration within the Alliance. My colleagues have contributed extensively on it, and we've also sought wider input to this discussion item. It does feed on very nicely to what Councillor Garrett was saying about having a disproportionate impact on the poorest in our society. The annual budgetary changes during the last administration continued to reduce the amount of council tax support for those island residents in greatest need. And I would refer everyone here to pages 76 and 77 of the document, where you'll note that this critical relief was progressively eroded from some 91.5% down to 65%. At the same time, the conditions associated with it were constantly changed, further eroding the opportunity the scheme afforded. You'll see that the family premium was removed. You'll see that the capital limit was reduced down to £6,000. You'll see that the benefit was restricted to a maximum of Band C valuations. And you'll see that the blanket protection of claimants in receipt of disability benefit was removed. Direct, and some would say shameful, impacts on those island residents most in need of our help. On forming the Alliance, the administration, and finding our financial position very challenging due to the inherited position and continued government cuts, there were a lot of discussions about moving from 65% to various figures between 40 and 60%. This range of options discussed within the Alliance and with some single grouped councillors, following an initial suggestion that the budgetary pressure would indicate a possible further reduction to 60%. Considering our financial options, you'll note at item 18 on page 78, the reference to an indicative funding gap of £3.3 million, a very considerable sum. You'll also note, as per item 21, that the decreased level of relief, particularly during COVID, has resulted in a decline in collections, leaving over £4 million outstanding. In item 43, you'll note the dramatic increase in the debt recovery activity has resulted in a legal caseload of 3,187 liability orders. I'll repeat that figure, I think. 3,187. We do, of course, have an exceptional hardship policy, which is referred to on page 211 onwards. Together with colleagues, I took the extraordinary decision to forego the savings that a further reduction to 60% would have brought, and to halt this pattern of decline by retaining the level at 65% for the coming year. This, unlike the other options before us, does not require a consultation. Whilst halting the decline is a positive first step, and being mindful that I cannot bind future budgets, we must make all endeavours to reverse the previous trend and increase the level of support provided to those in greatest need. I wish that at this difficult time I could do even more. Quite simply, I and the Alliance are resolved that the Isle of Wight Council must ensure that we are not the vehicle that drives families into poverty, unsustainable debt, or homelessness. I therefore commend option 2 to the Cabinet and formally propose it, wishing that I could do more.
Can I have a seconder for that proposal, please? Councillor Jonathan Bacon. And then I have a number of members that wish to speak. Councillor Paul Fuller.
Thank you very much, Chairman. I think the issue that we're looking at with this support is we're supporting those families that are working on very, very low incomes, which we have many on the island. Year after year, we've seen this support cut back further. Like Councillor Jarman, I too could not stomach cutting this further because we're hitting the people in the pocket the hardest, and I think we should be doing everything we can to support families like that. If there was a way around this, then I think this should be a priority for the administration in trying to address. But I very, very reluctantly will need to support this, as frustrating it is. But I do share the pain that is being shown by Councillor Jarman, and I know that lots of town and parish councils feel likewise. Thank you.
Sorry, Councillor Bacon, you should have come in as the seconder and wishing to speak. I apologise.
Thank you, Chair. And I obviously have indicated I would like to second this paper, and perhaps what I could say is that we were talking about the impact and consideration of poverty with Councillor Garrett a few months ago. Hopefully this paper and what Councillor Jarman has said can provide a reassurance, perhaps even a more open reassurance, that it is something that is absolutely key to our considerations, a key concern, and something it's key to address. Paragraph 38 of the report makes it quite clear that the intention is to consider the restoration of support in coming years. As you said in some of your opening remarks, Chair, we're all about stopping decline, but putting the brakes on, which this paper does explicitly, is only part of the job. The intention is there, and that's why I support this, to turn the tank around and start heading in another direction, so the support that can be given to those who are vulnerable and in need, I hope that we can do that in the years to come. We need to take the first step of putting the brakes on, but as you say, then we can start to accelerate in a different direction. Thank you.
Did somebody else wish to speak? Indicate? No. Councillor Ian Stevens.
Chair, I wasn't going to, but I feel I have to, because for a number of years I've sat in this chamber and watched support decline through previous administrations. This is something that we've actually managed to, thanks to Councillor Jarman and his expertise and talents, through his portfolio and his remit, we've actually taken a decision to halt the slide. And to me, that sends out a message to the people of the Isle of Wight from this administration that we are a listening and an active independent alliance from all walks of life that understand the Isle of Wight's problems, the community's problems, and indeed the business community's problems. We will move forward in the coming year with hopefully a better ring to the name of the Isle of Wight Council. It's something that is lacking and has been lacking for a number of years, but let's just start, as members have already said, and you have, Leader, that we're turning this around. It's going to take time, it's going to take perseverance, and we need the support of all islanders to make sure that we move forward in a positive direction. But this is the start, and I'll congratulate Councillor Jarman, because this actually starts that ray of hope that islanders need in these dire times. Thank you.
Thank you, and I can see that Councillor Garrett has indicated he wishes to come back. Councillor Garrett.
Thank you very much, Leader. I too commend Councillor Jarman for what he is doing through this paper, and obviously I wish you as an administration could be going further at this stage. I am grateful to the way the administration has engaged with me on this issue, writing into your corporate plan proposals, both the overarching consideration, but also the words around progressively improving the support. What I would particularly call upon, if cabinet members, particularly I suspect Councillor Jarman, would have a mind to, is monitoring the use of the hardship fund to make sure it is being used. Paragraph 2.2 of the hardship policy sets out that there is no specific definition of exceptional hardship within the policy, and I would hope that through the direction of cabinet members, that those officers of the council, those members of staff of the council charged with dealing with applications under the policy do so with the greatest generosity that they can within the constraints of the policy. But may I again reiterate that I do feel that we now have a council administration that is about to go in the right direction on this matter, and I so look forward to being able to vote after consultations have happened to a time when we are providing more support to those who are most in need on this island. Thank you.
I believe Councillor Brodie wishes to come in and ask a question.
Yes, thank you, Leader. I remember when we first started to have to ensure that people contributed to council tax, and the beginnings of the reductions in support, which happened not in the previous administration, but in the administration before. I can't remember whether it was the one led by Councillor Stevens or Bacon. It was certainly one of the two, and certainly Councillor Jordan was a member of that executive cabinet at the time as well. The reason we have a safety net, for want of a better phrase, is because of the objections I made at the time as a member of the council, because of the punitive effect this will have on people, particularly in the sorts of wards that I represent, where poverty is a day-to-day issue, and where issues like dark skies are irrelevant. It's putting food on the table is far more important than dark skies. I have watched over the years see the percentage of support reduced inexorably, and whilst it is welcoming that it's been stopped, I would have preferred to have seen a reversal starting now. Frankly, I doubt if you will ever reverse it, if you don't reverse it in the first year of your administration, and I wouldn't expect to see anything different in it so long as your administration lasts. I'm not sure what happens. I've just quickly been trying to flick through the forward plan, but in the past, this policy proposal has always had to go to full council. I can't see it in the forward plan at all, the one that was issued today. There's so many items in there now, and duplication ones, etc. But I understand it does go to full council. If it does go to the full council, I will most certainly vote against it, because it is punitive to people who live in poverty. This is not what I would have expected from an alliance group, ostensibly at the start committed to start reversing things that have been introduced over the last 4 years. But I would just remind you, this didn't start in the last 4 years. It started whilst 3 of the current members of the cabinet were previously members of the cabinet. Thank you, Chair.
I can confirm that it will be going to January's meeting, Councillor Brodie. Okay, Councillor Jarman, would you like to sum up, and then we can move to the vote, please? Thank you.
Yes, first of all, I'd like to thank Councillor Garrett for his very supportive words on this. I think everyone is aware of the financial difficulty that we find ourselves in, the extreme financial difficulty, and the continuing background of government cuts, which have led us into this situation. I think we should be pleased that we are able to stop the process of decline, which was the route we were following as a council. And it is something of a juggernaut here. It has a great deal of momentum, and the government's announcements, which have come out even today, are not assisting us in overcoming our problems. These are things that we as an island will need to deal with ourselves. So being ever mindful of the needs of the poorest in our society, we are starting to turn this ship around. The first thing to do is to stop digging the hole. And I think that providing some stability for the next year, rather than increasing the level of cuts, is a good step. And I very much look forward to proving Councillor Brodie's scepticism fundamentally wrong. Thank you.
Okay, so with no one else wishing to speak, can we please move to the vote? All those in favour, please show. That's carried. Thank you very much. Councillor Brodie, do you want? Are you coming back, or is that a thing in your hand? No, we've taken the vote now. So yeah, okay. Moving on
Chair,
to item.
Chair, can I just?
You did?
Chair, can I ask that you actually? It's very difficult for anybody, whether it's me or a member of the public, to know what your votes are. Just to say that's carried. I think it's actually important that you announce what the result was. I suspect that one was unanimous, but it would be helpful. If I was there, I'd be able to see precisely what was happening. I can't see on this screen in front of me here. Certainly can't hardly see Phil Jordan at all.
Okay, well, that was unanimous.
Commented on the positioning of this camera in the past,
Yeah,
that's been ignored.
Yeah, I have to
Well,
say,
that's useful to know. Thank you.
Yeah, Councillor Brodie, I absolutely agree. It is very difficult watching from there. I mean, the chief exec is because there's so many people online. You've got to keep scrolling up and down to see when a hand raises. It's, you know, it is, you know, it is what it is. We know we're in a difficult position, but thank you for that. Yes, it was a unanimous decision. Moving on to item 7B, which is the discretionary housing payment. That's back to you, Councillor Jarman.
Yes, thank you, Leader. The next item is the discretionary housing payment policy, the DHPP. You'll all be aware that this is not new. This is something provided by the Department of Work and Pensions to local authorities to assist those who are in great need of support in their rent payments effectively. There are many words that describe it, but effectively it's to assist them with their rent liability in those cases where they simply cannot meet their outgoings. So we know all about it. There are multiple changes that come through every year. Those need to be reflected in our policy document, which is attached to the back of it. If I turn your attention to item 10, which is on page 222, you will see here the details of what the policy provides. For those of you who want a quick summary of it, the key goal, and I think it's item 1 on that list, is alleviating poverty, preventing homelessness, and ultimately down to a number of personal factors which clearly feed into aspects wider than simply rent, but also into the areas of health and into mental health in particular. And I do bring your attention to the very final one, which is keeping families together, something with which I'm intimately involved in other roles I play in life. So I would commend this change to you as an annual review. We clearly do not want to remove the level of support which is there. We want to continue with it and to encourage those to come forward who can be assisted by this fund. And we are therefore moving options A and C that the policy is amended. And there are some minor changes which option C brings in to ensure that together with myself, individual elements can be exercised through officer discretion.
Do I have a seconder for that proposal, please? Councillor Bacon, did you wish to speak to that?
No, Chair, thank you.
Okay, is there anyone wishing to speak to the paper, please, in the room? No. Is there anyone wishing to speak? If you just allow John Metcalf to go up and down on his screen to check. No one's indicating. Okay, so that's a straightforward one where we move to the vote, please. All those in favour? Thank you. That is unanimous vote. So moving on to item number 8A, which is the Cabinet Member for Regen, Business Development and Tourism. And that is Councillor Judy Jones-Evans. And that is, sorry. Okay.
For this item.
Okay, so Councillor
Yeah,
Ian
I've
Stevens
decided to do the same under the.
and Councillor Phil Jordan are both
declared
leaving the
interest.
meeting as they are Ryde Town councillors. We will call you back as soon as we have made a decision. So I move on to item 8A, disposal of Ryde Harbour and adjoining land to the Ryde Town Council. Councillor Julie Jones-Evans, you are speaking to this one. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Leader. It's a great pleasure to bring this forward. Again, this has been one that's been talked about for several years now. In fact, Councillor Lilly, the current Mayor of Ryde, reminded me that it was due to a call-in that this now is going to be made available to Ryde Town Council, where previously it was going to be disposed to a dredging company. So it's really good that this is going to be coming forward. And in fact, I was at Ryde Town Council the evening where they decided to go forward with this this project. So really, this proposal is consistent with the administration's ambition to work more closely with town and parish councils in making the best use of our assets for the public good. The potential future investment needed in maintaining the harbour is also best achieved through this proposed disposal. There is dredging works that need doing, there is repairs works need doing, but I understand, you know, the business case has been put forward by the town council that this is all in hand and they can make the best of this asset. Because Ryde Esplanade is a key priority zone in the joint Ryde Place plan, and the town council have been obviously privy to this and important partners in this, and they do have ambitious plans to improve the amenity and viability of Ryde Harbour. I sit on the Ryde Regeneration Group, and it's very heartening to hear how much passion and dedication there is from all elements of that group and wider Ryde key stakeholders, and this is, you know, you have to remember this is an important gateway to the island, as of course we've got the investment at the interchange coming very soon. So the development of the interchange and the High Street Heritage Action Zone, when combined with Ryde Harbour, it really does represent a major step change for the regeneration of the town. There will be a small loss of income as a result of the transfer in about £11,000, but it's a small price to pay for the resulting investment that will result. And of course, as I mentioned, the avoidance of the maintenance liabilities that are coming down the road there. As I mentioned, the Ryde Town Council have prepared a detailed business case setting out their plans, and this has really informed me and given me the confidence that this is the right thing to do in completing the transfer to them. So if I may just put you to page 254, and it's option 1, we're looking at para 25 option 1, which is to agree to the freehold transfer of Ryde Harbour and the hospitality suite and the lease transfer of the 2 parcels of land and hospitality suite to Ryde Town Council from the 1st of April 2022. The transfer to be at nil value and subject to final details to be agreed by the Cabinet member. So I'd like to put that option forward to my Cabinet colleagues this evening.
Could I have a seconder, please? Councillor Paul Fuller would like to second that.
Thank you very much, Chairman. This is the kind of collaborative work that we should be welcoming on the council. Working with our town and parish councils is something that I think is really important for us. Corporately, it's important for us, and it's a good sort of like disposal to make sure that the harbour works sustainably in the future. So I can only welcome this, and I'm very pleased to second it. Thank you, and thank you, Julie.
Is there anyone else wishing to speak on the item in the room? No, and nobody's indicating. Okay, well, that was a quick one then. If you could all, we are still for it, aren't we? Yeah. Okay, all those in favour, please. Once again, that is a unanimous decision. Thank you very much. We will bring in the other 2 councillors. Thank you very much for waiting a few seconds while we get ourselves sorted. Councillor Jones-Evans is not quite finished yet. We have item 8B on the agenda, which I believe is a double tag team with Councillor Debbie Andre, and this is the Isle of Wight Skills Plan. So I'll bring Councillor Jones-Evans in first, and then Councillor Andre.
Thank you very much, Leader. Again, this is an item that's we've been waiting for about 18 months to bring forward for a decision. Previous to taking up my my new role, and I'm very happy to do my role as the Cabinet Member for Regen Business Development and Tourism. I was a member of the Economic Development Board, and this was one of the projects that came through them. And so we've sort of seen this through its early stages. So I'm just delighted to see that we've got the final plan in front of us and that we're going to be moving forward with this. I've just got a little bit to say, and I'm going to hand over to Councillor Andre. As you say, it's a tag team this evening. So regeneration is as much about people as it is about place. Helping people fulfil their potential is fundamental to successful regeneration. The council obviously plays a major role in education and training through supporting the primary and secondary sectors and further education and private training organisations such as the Isle of Wight College and HTP. They do a fantastic job in skilling people of all ages to help them get on in life. So what other role can the council play? This skills plan identifies 3 key priorities where the council can make a real difference as the broker between the community, businesses and the education sector. Post-pandemic, the structural challenges that Ireland labour market faces have been laid bare, with sectors such as health and social care and hospitality needing to attract staff. And in fact, we had some almost emergency training provided throughout the summer and through the autumn in these very, very key sectors. And it was great to work across the training providers and across our other partners on the island. So we can react very quickly as an island to these gaps. So by looking forward, we need to help highlight these and other sectors on the island as providing great opportunities for those who need work and help those people in accessing the jobs available now and those to be created in the future. So this be rightly be a focus for the plan. Aligning aspiration and opportunity to better meet employers' skills needs this priority. We'll aim to put employers at the centre of the Isle of Wight skills system, better understand their current and future skills needs and helping them access to a suitably skilled workforce. It will work to raise awareness of the wide range of inspirational career opportunities available on the island, continue to build mutually beneficial relationships which will better integrate the worlds of education and employment, raising the aspirations of young people and improving participation and attainment. And I'm going to hand over to Councillor Andre now. Thank you, Leader.
Thank you, Councillor Jones-Evans. I think this is a really excellent example of both of our portfolios working together. As the Cabinet Member for Lifelong Skills, Adult Education, this very much comes within my remit and is an area that is very close to my heart. As Councillor Jones-Evans said, this plan has been a long time in the production, but I have to say there's a huge amount of work that has gone into this by both of our teams, and again, an excellent example of collaborative working. There's so much in this paper. I could go on, but I would just like to draw out a couple of things. Within this paper, it promotes developing a highly skilled, productive and future-ready workforce, and I think that's the important thing. We're not just looking and identifying at the areas that we need now, but we're actually looking how we can actually be future ready. And this priority will focus on raising skill levels across the island, ensuring sufficient higher level provision, which is targeted at the needs of key sectors, and improving those technical opportunities matched to our labour market needs. And that is highly significant, that this plan will enable us to match the training provisions with the labour market needs. It will build on the iAspire programme, support the education and skills ambition of the Digital Island Strategy, the Isle of Wight University Centre and the Solent. It will also encourage upskilling within our workforce, promoting a culture of lifelong learning, and this is very much what we need to promote here. Support for adults who wish to change careers and encourage a better take-up of leadership and management skills as a driver of innovation, entrepreneurship and growth. It will also enable opportunities for all and a more inclusive approach for growth. The plan, which you will find at Appendix 1, is extremely comprehensive, but as we've said, this administration has said, a plan that's not backed up by specific actions is not something that will be delivered. So this plan, again, is backed up by a specific action plan, Appendix 2, with appropriate milestones and measures. The final thing I'd like to highlight on this is that the implementation of the skills plan is intended to ensure that our young people on the island benefit from a coordinated approach by all stakeholders to the learning and skills agenda. And this is so that they have the greatest opportunity to access the best, most productive and most fulfilling employment to their long-term benefit, as well-being, as well as that of the local economy and the communities where they live. And also, Councillor Jones-Evans mentioned about aspiration. We need to increase aspiration, expectation, and I believe the skills plan will do that. Thank you.
May I just read out the recommendation, unless anyone else wants to come in before that?
No questions? Right, Councillor Jones-Evans, if you could read the recommendation.
The recommendation, so that's on page 268 of our papers today. It's option A. So it's to adopt the Isle of Wight Skills Plan, which is Appendix 1, and set up an Island Skills Board to oversee the skills-related activity, identify the relevant resources, and monitor outcomes of the action plan, which is Appendix 2. And that's my recommendation, our recommendation to our colleagues this evening.
And it was noted at the at this corporate scrutiny. Councillor Andre is seconding that. Okay, I think everyone has spoke. There's no one wishing. Councillor Bacon, please.
Well, I think it's all been said by Councillor Andre, but I'd just like to say I think this is an amazing piece of work, and it's something that could serve our young people going forward. As the paper says, we have to have the workforce with the right skills, and I'm glad to see the green economy is identified later in the paper. The workplaces are changing, and we need to do everything we can to make sure our young people get the right jobs in the sectors that are developing, and I think this will aid that greatly. So I'm really pleased to see it and very supportive.
Thank you, Leader. Yeah, and thank you for those kind words, Councillor Bacon. We're looking at this island looking forward, and I think we've heard that a lot this evening. How we are reaching forward, we're stopping, we're turning around the tanker, but we're going in the right direction now. And it's about it's about people's potential as well. It's about being able to really give them the opportunity to shine and raise their wages, do jobs that they get all satisfaction from as well. So it's all about the future as far as I'm concerned, and a great future for the island.
Thank you very much. I think we've all, did you want to come in, Phil? No? Okay. So if we could move to the vote, please. All those in favour? That is unanimous. Thank you very much. And I look forward to hearing the progress of that, because the progress, that's where we're really going to start to see some changes. And I've said for a long time, our youth on the island, they need that confidence and aspiration that they can achieve. They really do. So look forward to that. Moving on to we've already done 9A and B. How terribly exciting. So we move on to item 10A, which is report of the Cabinet Member for Highways, PFI, Transport and Infrastructure. That's another another nasty portfolio, that one, isn't it? So we move on, and it's the item A on the agenda, and I believe that was just noted again at scrutiny, and it's the Isle of Wight Council, various streets, East Cowes. Councillor Phil Jordan, please.
Thank you, Chair. Just say yes. Scrutiny actually did make comments. They wondered why these TROs were on the scrutiny agenda last night, which is rather strange because this was a TRO review brought about in a previous council administration to undertake a review each year. You know that the island is shared out into 6 districts under the PFI contract, and each year for a TRO review, 3 of those districts would be looked at, and then the following year the 3, and so on. And so that's the reason this has come forward, because Cowes and East Cowes were part of the TRO review. What we have in front of us, we'll take them separately, although they're similar. They are recommendations for quite historic, in some cases, changes to parking, mostly parking regulations on our roads, and entirely concerned with safety issues to the area that, in which they've been proposed. Some of this was started at the time of the pandemic, and I know that the consultations were deferred and pushed back somewhat, and it wasn't until earlier this year, between January and June, that members of the public were able entirely to be consulted. And you'll note under item 15 that during that period there were even then some supporting views and some objections, as you might expect on these matters. They have mixed reactions to people. So just to reaffirm that this is to approve the TROs for the areas listed. There are maps attached to the back of our paper, and they are recommended on the basis of safety improvements to those areas. At a later date, I'm sure we will revisit this, because there are, it's a bit like the council tax support scheme, where we have year on year reduced it, and we have to be mindful that all of these remove on-road car parking spaces, and we have to be mindful, in my view, that we do not carry on entirely just taking off car parking spaces from our roads without due consideration. So I suspect as we move forward, we may revisit this entire scheme of reviewing TROs for a policy that maintains our on-road parking spaces, but that's for a later date. So on the recommendation for Part A, the recommendation is that Part A, that we accept the various streets in East Cowes traffic regulation order number 12021, that's 2021, pages 351 in our papers, and I'd look for a seconder for us to approve those.
Okay, I have Councillor Judy Jones-Evans is seconding. Did you wish to speak to that, Councillor Jones-Evans? No. Councillor Paul Fuller, did you wish to speak to the East Cowes? No. Okay. Okay, no one else is wishing to come on screen. Councillor Phil Jordan, are we right to go to the vote? Yep.
Please, Chair.
Yep. Okay, all those in favour, please show. For the record, that is a unanimous agreement. Thank you very much. We move on to the next item, which is 10B, which is the Isle of Wight Council, various street scales. I think I'm correct in some people could just write into Island Roads. It's literally one resident and say, I want double yellow lines outside my house. And actually they can be added to that register. It is literally how it is. And at one time, I know we would try to prioritise, didn't we? That huge long list of that we tried to in town and parishes. So if you would like to move forward with item 10B, please, Councillor Jordan.
Thank you, Chair. And you're absolutely right. It's called the Safety Asset Register, and it still is some extensive length, and the reality of any of those being delivered is quite small. I'm in constant discussions about whether we should reset the whole process and clear that and restart again with priorities through each town and parish council. So that is on our horizon. Exactly the same words as I spoke for item A. Suffice to say that on page 395, option 33 is to approve the proposed restrictions. This is for cows, subject to this report in relation to the Isle of Wight Council, various street, cows, traffic regulation orders, with amendments. So to abandon some of the restrictions and to implement the rest of the restrictions as proposed. And Chair, what I am suggesting to us is that we accept option 2 and vote that through, and to note that because of recent concerns and representations, that's led to us to put a hold on 3 of the schemes that are proposed. I would read them out to you as Ashgrove in Cowes, Newport Road in Cowes, and Newport Road with the junction of Stevenson Road in Cowes should be removed from the list, and we should proceed accepting, apart from those 3, option 2 and approve the other regulations. I look for a seconder.
Okay, Councillor Paul Fuller, is that a second? Yep.
Thank you. I'd also like to speak on Baring Road. This is a personal battle that I've had for about 12 years now. The school, we've had about 6 minor incidents regarding small children being hit by parents who aren't considering where they're going, and the parents are absolutely gutted when a child gets hit by a car. And you know, I've been working with the residents in Baring Road and the school and other stakeholders to make sure that that scheme actually works. And I am so pleased after 12 years we've actually got there. And I know that there will be people with a bunting out in Baring Road that are so happy that children's lives will be safer now with these restrictions. So I thank you for your forbearance on that.
Another delivery by the Alliance Administration.
Absolutely.
Welcome to it.
And I also say we are going to install, in part of this order, there is a part of Newport Road up near the Park and Ride and near Aldi, where there's a very dangerous corner where people are parking right across, and those double yellow lines, they have been sorely needed. We've been very lucky not to have a fatality on that corner. So I'm terribly grateful for the 3 that you've removed from there, and I'm certain that a number of my residents will be very relieved at that too, because they've made quite a lot of representation, as you know. So if no one else wishes to speak, and we can't see any hands up on scrolling up and down through there, could we please vote all those in favour, please? For the camera, that is unanimous. Thank you very much, Councillor Phil Jordan, and we look forward to trying to simplify the process in the future, I think, as an alliance. Okay, so we move on now to item 11 on the agenda. And before I go to the Cabinet Member announcements, I'd like to take this opportunity, please, to thank all staff. We've only been here 7 months, but I absolutely understand what the island has been through for almost 2 years now. there's not much that's not happened to somebody that's probably not happened to me or my family. I'd like to pay tribute to every member of our staff, and from that I mean from our cleaners that have had to do completely different regimes, from the chief execs, the directors, all of the staff that have had to take on completely different roles to perhaps what they were supposed to keep us safe during COVID, and are continuing to work under those circumstances. To our islanders that have taken heed of what we've said, that have worn masks, that have, kept distances, that have done everything that they should. Our police that carried on going, our prison staff, the hospital staff, the fire, the ferry services that kept us going. Taxi, shop staff, our care workers that have had untold pressure, the voluntary sector, the coroner's office. I sincerely, Mountbatten Hospice, our town and parish councils that came to the rescue of so many residents. The voluntary sector, as I say, that were absolutely fantastic. Only today we were here and we heard the air ambulance go over, and my heart absolutely went to the pit of my stomach thinking about the family that person is involved in and what they're going through tonight. I just really, from the pit of my stomach, I am the leader of the council. I know it's a job I'm struggling to comprehend, but from the pit of my stomach, thank you sincerely from the bottom of my heart to absolutely every one of you that have kept going through this, because it's very hard. We've had members of our own group that have caught COVID. We know how it wipes you out. We know how it tires you. Some of you have committed to carry on working so hard during that time. So I just want to wish you peace of mind, much laughter and merriment over this season, and truly good health and prosperity for 2022. And that is from not only me as the leader, but from our Alliance group. Thank you very much. And now, thank you. And now, and I do hope you send that all back to your staff members, seriously. So now I invite the Cabinet to make a brief update on matters concerning their portfolio. I'm going to go to Councillor Julie Jones-Evans first, please.
Thank you, Leader, and thank you for those words. They were really heartfelt and touched me as well. Thank you. So I've got a few things I'll rattle through. So that's quite a lot to update you on, actually. So we've got the pop-up shops now open in Newport High Street at number 33, and also number 64 High Street, which is a new purchase by Newport and Carisbrooke Community Council, and they're working in association with the Isle of Wight Council to provide a safe shopping environment for about 8 different stall holders, and we've got 2 in number 33. So please do take time if you want to go and find something a little bit different, and it gives a bit more life and vibrancy to our high street. Just remind people, Island gift cards are still available to purchase, so they're a great present. It means you can spend money locally, and hundreds of businesses across the island, independent business across the island. That's a very good scheme, and if you get stuck for a present, buy one of those. The levelling up bid, well, it's not a bid now, it's a thing. We've got the money. Our staff have met with officials from the Department for Levelling Up Housing Communities to discuss the programme implementation of the East Cowes Marine Hub projects and the arrangements for accessing the government support. The community consultation was held last weekend. Councillor Love was there on the Friday, and I was there on Saturday afternoon, and it was actually attended by over 150 people. They provide really good feedback on the plans for the new community square, Oldby Green, and the wider waterfront regeneration. Everyone was very engaged and very happy to feedback. So as an early demonstration of change, we had a new directional sign, which is designed by people from Holy Cross. That was erected last week on the Esplanade. So it's all go in East Cowes. DevEx and Newport. So DevEx is a sustainable regeneration conference that we attended a couple of weeks ago, which is the plans for regeneration in Newport. They were the subject for this workshop, and we had some really amazing people from across the country and actually across the street from Europe as well, who are specialists in regeneration in a sustainable way, and they really use their brains to give us some new ways of looking at some of our regeneration projects, especially around the harbour. That was quite exciting, and they're going to keep in touch and sort of encourage us along that way of sustainable, exciting regen. City status, thank you very much, Leader. Last week you signed off and sent that off for the city status for Newport and Carisbrooke, submitted a day before. I'm happy to say it was a really impressive document, and it made my heart sing about all that's good about our county town. Again, a partnership approach it was key, and I have to say thank you for Newport and Carisbrooke Community Council who helped fund the bid, and Councillor Oliver from the Isle of Wight Council who tabled the original motion to us here in full council. So we're assuming we're going to be successful, because why not? Why wouldn't you make Newport and Carisbrooke a city? We've got all the elements that we need for that. So we're making plans for that alongside Platinum Jubilee plans for June next year. So I hope it's going to be a major party. Cultural regeneration, we've had our first report back. It's a fact-finding report, a snapshot of time, looking at the challenges and the strengths of the situation we have on the island, and this is going to be going forward to help bring some early funding from Arts Council England. So that's really good news. We're moving ahead on that, and we're just in light of the current situation with the new COVID variant. Of course, we're keeping a watching brief of the impact of this on local businesses, and the Federation of Small Businesses nationally have already been raising this with the government today. So to say we are keeping an eye on that and be ready to spring into action as we have done for the previous times where it became a real issue. So that's it from me, Leader. Sorry it was so much, but lots going on. I don't want anyone to miss out on hearing the good news.
And it is our last chance to sort of speak before the Christmas New Year break, so you don't need to rush. We're okay today. I'm not going to crack the whip like I normally do. Councillor Bacon.
There's more then, Leader.
Yeah,
no,
is there more?
Joking. So I'm just
all right. Yeah. Okay. I'm just hoping our poor reporter can catch up. Can type very quickly because there's a lot there to say. Councillor Jonathan Bacon, you're next, please.
Thank you, Leader. I think it's 4 things I'd like to briefly mention. Actually, the first has already been mentioned. I did just want to highlight the fact that Cabinet papers are now referring to decisions, their impact on climate and biosphere, and I think that's a good positive move. And of course, as we discussed earlier, that is going to be extended to considerations of poverty as well. Second thing, I'm pleased from my portfolio to see the decision that was made in relation to PTEC earlier this week. I think that's an important step towards green energy, our green energy base on the island, and potentially making the island a hub for innovative renewable energy projects. Dinosauria has been talked about as we've developed plans for Culver, and it's been made quite clear a number of times that our aim has been to maintain their interest rather than risk losing it. I can report that we had a very positive meeting with the Chief Executive of Dinosauria a couple of days ago, and things are moving forward to locating a suitable site, and we have another meeting lined up for the end of January to advance things there. So I think that is a very positive move. And the remaining thing I'd like to mention as an informative, the fly tipping task and finish group, which was talked about quite a lot a month or 2 ago. I hope people haven't forgotten about it. It's a very important group, but a date has now been fixed to take that forward. That is the 10th of January. I hope that date is adhered to. It's just been checked by officers that all those who are on the group can attend, but that provision is date fixed. It has taken a long time, and I apologise. The initial meeting we had of the group created a very wide scope of issues that need to be looked at. And to do a task and finish group properly, a lot of documentation and evidence needs to be produced so that members can be informed and they can make informed and evidence decisions so that the group is valuable and has an effect. But work can now get underway on that, as I say, first thing in the new year. And otherwise, just picking up on your mention just then, Leader, happy Christmas to everyone. So that's the last time I shall speak in this chamber this year.
Thank you very much, Councillor Bacon. We move on to Councillor Chris Jarman now. It's for your update, please.
Thank you, Leader. I think I should start with a wow, actually, for Councillor Jones-Evans, just to recognise her vibrancy and enthusiasm. I find her delivery and her aptitude for these things absolutely commendable. It's wonderful. It's just what we need on this island. It probably makes me sound rather boring in the things that I cover in life, doesn't it? But there we are. We all have a role to play. Well, no, I think, Jonathan, you eased it down in my direction, which is quite good. Otherwise, I'd be compelled to turn up my enthusiasm button a little bit on the side. No, Leader, the only thing I really wanted to mention was the budget consultation, which we've kicked off. It's out now, it's on the website. We are trying this year to, again, have a very different approach as an alliance to what's gone on before. We want to make sure that we have this exposed to as many of the islanders as we can, that they look at it, that they become engaged in it, that they fill in the consultation document and they return it to us. I know that that's gone out to a lot of the town and parishes now. We are going to be following it up with a roadshow, which is coming in the new year, mostly virtual, as you can imagine, given the circumstances we have at the moment. And in my own ward, we're going as far as to put together a very good team of people who are doorstepping to as many houses as we can get in the ward of Totland and Colwell, one of those famous, dare I say, infamous wards on the island, where a lot of new things happen, to make sure that as many of the residents as possible have the opportunity to respond to that consultation exercise. I'm not compelling my colleagues here to do exactly the same. I'll leave that to them and their own parish and town councils to decide the best way forward. But we do want to promote this with every opportunity we've got. In the media, through our town and parish councils who are instrumental in making sure we have a voice with this coming forward, and to every islander and business on the island. Thank you.
I think almost every portfolio has mentioned how important our town and parish councils are, and I note that Diana Conyers is online, so I'm hoping that the form goes out through the town and parishes and that people feel compelled to. We have shortened it, we've made it a lot quicker and easier, so hopefully we will get a good turnout. Councillor Debbie Andre, your update next, please.
Thank you, Leader. I've got a couple of things that I would like to highlight here. We've heard a lot of talk about poverty this evening, and quite rightly so. And one of the things I've been delighted to have within my remit are some grant funding schemes that have come through the Department for Work and Pensions. And one of those schemes, the Connect for Communities grant scheme, has just been relaunched this December. And you'll be very pleased to hear that town, parish and community councils can apply, as well as community groups, voluntary groups, educational settings and charities. And this is a specific fund to support vulnerable households with essential services this winter. And Councillor Brodie will know and will be delighted that Pan Together were actually a beneficiary of a previous community grant under this scheme, which provided, let me just get the quote here, it contributed towards 20 hot home-delivered meals, this is for Pan Together, each weekday lunchtime, for local children and young people whose families were on the cusp of eligibility for free school meals during the lockdown from January to March this year. And a total of 1,805 no-cost children's meals have been distributed, this is in Pan, since March 2020. And I think that actually highlights something as well, that people that were managing previously are now really struggling, and that was something that was very evident earlier. So I'm delighted, and I would encourage those groups to contact us. If they go on to www.connect4communities.org, they will find the information there. In addition to that, I'm also delighted that we have our holiday activity and food schemes. And again, Councillor Brodie, there is one going on at Barton, and I will be visiting a couple of the schemes next week, and I'm really looking forward to that. Another thing has been highlighted throughout this meeting is that we now put into all our decision making the impact on children and young people. And I am very passionate about hearing our young people's voice, and it's only right and proper that we do. And to that end, I have recently been in contact with our Island Youth MP and the Youth Council, and I am continuing to work with them to promote our youth voice. Our leader has already thanked our staff members, but I've been asked by Councillor Love to particularly thank those adult social care workers who have absolutely gone above and beyond, as have the workers in our children's social care teams who have worked tirelessly and innovatively and flexibly when it wasn't possible to actually carry on working in the usual way. They actually adapted brilliantly. So I would really like to thank them, along with our schools, our head teachers and our teachers adapted so quickly to having to provide a range of new methods, remote learning, flexi learning, so that our island children could still be ensured of a good quality education. I thank them for that. So I will finish there. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Councillor Andre. I know Councillor Paul Fuller indicated to speak.
Thank you, Chairman. I have been asked to provide a response to the receipt of responses for last night's scrutiny committee papers to the report from the Task and Finish group. To note, the response was emailed and was received in my inbox at 4:59 this Monday. After digesting this response between meetings on Tuesday, I spoke to officers to clarify matters should I be questioned on Wednesday. Because of Tuesday's planning committee meeting and due to meetings that I attended on that day, I did not receive that clarity until Wednesday. On Monday, I genuinely anticipated that the paper would be circulated to all members, as was Cabinet colleagues. Once it was made aware at corporate scrutiny that the papers hadn't been circulated, I ensured that it was, and that is why that paper was delayed for clarity purposes. I would formally like to thank all residents and stakeholders for engaging in the recent consultation for the draft island planning strategy. Since feedback was received, staff have been reading through each and every one of the 2,800 comments. In light of that feedback, a briefing will take place on some of the headline comments and how the plan proceeds to the next stage with the planning inspector. In the last few weeks, there have been meetings with the Council's QC, who has advised officers and the planning team on many of the matters raised and how these matters can be quantified at the next stage. Within the feedback, a number of comments have been made regarding our current infrastructure on the island and how further housing fits. In addition, other key points that was raised by our MP and the Task and Finish group on the exceptional circumstances as defined within the National Planning Policy Framework. This is still being looked into. On this and other headlines, the thoughts of our QC is recognised as being key in ensuring how our island plan proceeds. What should be recognised as a key factor is, should the plan be rejected as being unsustainable and not meeting government targets and thresholds, this could be costly for both the island, not only financially, but also in the short term sustainably. For this reason, I am instructing our QC's report, once completed, to be circulated for further discussion in the new year. This, I trust, will ensure this advice cannot be taken out of context in any way. I know that there are councillors that would like to publish some of the headlines that's come from that, but I think to see the full report is important. In the meantime, I remind all members of tomorrow's briefing, which is online from 3:30 tomorrow, and that briefing is on the draft island planning strategy and where we are and where we're going. Thank you very much, members.
Okay, Councillor Brodie, you wish to come in?
Yes, thank you, Councillor PC Wilcox. I didn't put my hand up to respond to Paul Fuller. I heard what he said. I don't agree with a lot of what he said regarding this QC report. I think there's some extraordinary issues around the circulation of a report yesterday evening in the absence of the full QC report. I just want to acknowledge what Councillor Andre said about the local community group that I established within my ward nearly 14 years ago, PAN Together, to acknowledge the support that has come to my community during COVID. And I'd have to stress that, those two words, during COVID. Since lockdown started nearly 2 years ago, PAN Together has been very successful in receiving funding from a variety of agencies and support from the government via the Isle of Wight Council. All I would say, as I repeatedly say, and I don't get the opportunity, to sit at the cabinet and promote my ward, is to say that it's not just about COVID. Hopefully COVID will go away one day, and Pan and Barton will still have issues that are far more important than dark skies and some of the stuff you talked about tonight. And I want to see those dealt with. People have had enough. I've had enough. You're going to start putting poverty in all your reports. Well, I'm going to look at that with great interest. But I will acknowledge that good stuff has been done during the COVID period. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you very much. Okay, I'm going to move on to item 12 on the agenda, which is, no, they don't want to, is consideration of the forward plan. We've just been given copies because it wasn't actually within our documentation. Cabinet members, is there anything that you wish to amend, add or remove from the forward plan? I'll give you a couple of seconds to quickly go through. Councillor Julie Jones-Evans.
It was just a quick observation, really, Leader, about how many reports we're getting through. We really are. Sorry, we really are sticking to our promise of openness and transparency, just by the sheer volume of information that's coming through, which people on this council and people in the public domain can make comment on. It's just extraordinary the amount we've actually gone through this evening. And it's an extra meeting that we've put in, of course, that Cabinet doesn't normally, and will scrutiny normally meet in December. So I just wanted to thank really everyone who's put these reports together. I know it's extra work, but I think the fruits are being borne because we can all discuss this fully and together and make decisions in the open, transparent way that the administration has said it would do. So that's all, Leader. Thank you.
Councillor Ian Stevens.
Page 11, Isle of Wight Council Digital Strategy 2021 to 2026, to agree the Council's digital strategy and outline work programme. That has gone out for consultation. I've asked and requested it to go back another month, if not another 2 months. And the reason I've said that is because it might fall in in February with the budget. But I would say that I want to make sure that there's the widest possible consultation on the Isle of Wight Council digital strategy. So it was only going to be, and I think it was down for decision, December, January. And I think that what we need to do is extend it to allow everyone, including our stakeholders out and away from County Hall, the opportunity to have input. And I look forward to cross-chamber input as well. Thank you.
Okay, Councillor Debbie Andre.
Thank you, Leader. I'd just like to confirm, as been highlighted in previous meetings, that the outcome of the consultation on Chillerton and Rookley will be coming to Cabinet on the 10th of February. And I'd like to thank the Chief Executive for agreeing for it to come to that meeting, because I know it will be a busy meeting. So that will need to be added to the February Cabinet. Thank you.
Councillor Jarman.
Yes, Leader. One thing which, to give you a heads up, something that we'll be approaching on the forward plan is we've had discussions over several months now about our fleet and fleet management policy, and particularly the electrification of our fleet. Simultaneous with that have been discussions about EV points on the island, and I know Councillor Medland has been involved in local initiatives. There have also been discussions with other operators on the island, including the very well-known FitBus scheme and their electrification of their fleet. It seems opportune that the Council take a leading role in bringing these initiatives together. We do want to move forward with the electrification of our own fleet and the move away from diesel vehicles, etc. And we do want to identify partners that we can work with on that. So there is an initiative which is being kicked off in January. It's been coordinated with our own fleet manager, Kieran, who most of you know. Sharon Betts is organising the kick-off meeting with it, and we will be inviting other parties to that who have an interest in both EV points, electrification and our own fleet. We're aware of other discussions that have gone on with, for example, the announcement from SSE of the electrification of their fleet on the island and other major fleet operators, and coordinating with them would seem to be an important point as well. So just a very early heads up, and that will be kicking off in January. Thank you.
Is there anything else? No? Okay, so those were the only two amendments on that one. Thank you. So we move on to members' question time, and I will say that we've received 2 written questions, and I know Councillor Garrett wanted this one mentioned, and I know that he sat patiently, and we've overrun. Actually, I'm not sticking to my normal early times, but it is the last meeting, public meeting that we've got. So, so his question is, having in mind the comments of the Deputy Leader of the Council at the Policy and Scrutiny Committee for Neighbourhoods and Regen on the 18th of November concerning Camp Hill, could the Cabinet set out its current thinking regarding the Camp Hill prison site? So I will once again reiterate, we do not own the land. It is owned by the Ministry of Justice. The Ministry of Justice have been down very recently. They're doing a review of all their prison estates. It is not within our grasp to be able to say we can take it on and we can develop it. However, we are a listening council. The door is open. The Ministry of Justice have our telephone number and they can contact us should they need to. My priority when I came in was not to deal with probabilities, but it was to deal with actual real things that we could make a change. And dealing with the probability of if or not or when the Ministry of Justice make their decision is not something that I've got time for, nor do our very precious time restrain our staff. So the priority was we won nearly £1 million to release brownfield sites that we own. The Isle of Wight Council own these sites. We will have jurisdiction of what happens on them. I don't want to give that £1 million back. We are time constrained, so the money will be going, so we will prioritise those 3 big brownfield sites and use our valuable staffing resources to push those forward. You know, so that is my priority. Where I don't believe that is a wrong priority to waste time when we've got it. My understanding, Camp Hill is still within the island plan Schlar site, so we have not completely written it off, but it's just that we need to really hone in on what we can achieve, not dreams. Okay, that's where I'm coming from. Councillor Paul Fuller.
Just for clarity purposes, the draft island plan is only in draft form at the moment, and there has been quite a lot of discussion by the community at Camp Hill about what happens to that site. So again, there has been dialogue, and I'm hoping that a lot of the support, as you see, the positive support the residents up in that part of Newport have given to the planners, listen to, and we can actually move forward if the site ever comes.
Thank you. Councillor Phil Jordan.
Thank you, Chair. For my own benefit, does anyone recall when that prison was closed? How many years?
2013.
Thank you. So this is now year 9 of it being closed and potentially available, but it's still not available.
So that's what I mean. We just don't have the staffing resources to chase that when we've got brownfield sites and other locations that we can progress much quicker. Councillor Ian Stevens.
In 2013, when the site was vacated, spoke with the MOJ and also with Secretary of State at the time, and that was the one element that I said when I was leader of the Isle of Wight Council back in those days, that could we have HM Prisons administration on the Isle of Wight at the vacated Camp Hill, akin to what had happened to the Meteorological Office being moved to Exeter, which brought in £17.5 million per annum to the economy at Exeter. And also I did quote the example of the BBC moving to Manchester. And I was given a no, and abruptly told that the site was being looked at by the MOJ and eventually Homes England. That was our administration, and administration at that time. Since that time, 2 Conservative administrations have sat in this county hall and actually not looked further than, shall we say, St Mary's Hospital. They haven't gone up further to look at Camp Hill. Now we've been in 7 months and we're being told to get in there and have a look at Camp Hill. I can understand the frustrations. We are frustrated with the situation, but as the leader has said, Camp Hill belongs to the Ministry of Justice at this time, and when or if it becomes available, I feel sure that the Isle of Wight Council, united across the chamber, will decide to move forward and see what can be done or what can't be done on that site. But in the meantime, quite rightly, we are focusing on what hopefully we can achieve and what we've actually bid for with the almost £1 million worth of grant funding to clear up 3 sites that we can actually bring to fruition. Thank you very much indeed.
Okay, Councillor Jarman.
No, I think it's very important that we think about these assets, and they're very important in the future, potentially. You know, we are as an administration, we've been here 6 months. I think we've achieved quite remarkable things, and our focus and our concentration shows through in everything we do, as does the fact that we care about so much of what happens on this island. So, you know, I'm afraid there are a long list of things which are potentials in the future. And as the saying goes, you know, the impossible we do at once, miracles, they take a little longer.
I like that saying. We should have put that on a Christmas card. Okay, so we've received quite a lengthy question from Councillor Stephen Hendry in East Cowes. It's a very long question, so I don't intend to read it all out, but we will give him a written response. It is about the land at Crossways, but it's an extremely long question, and so I don't think we'll sit here going through that unless we really need to. No. Okay. So I see that Councillor Hastings has waited very patiently while we went through the written questions. Councillor Hastings, would you like to ask a question?
Thank you, Leader. Yeah, following corporate scrutiny of last night, a few members had a discussion today regarding matters, and our group leader would actually like me to ask a question, which I think is reasonable, as he is unable to attend tonight. And the question is, would the leader or any member of the cabinet like to offer an apology for the failure to disclose the QC response to the Task and Finish Group report on the draft island planning strategy until 1 hour 20 minutes after the start of the corporate scrutiny meeting yesterday, and only then by email, so that nobody at the meeting was aware of it? And I note Councillor Fuller's clarification earlier, but of course still as such not an apology.
Councillor Fuller.
Thank you very much. I didn't just make a statement, Councillor Hastings, concerning the Task and Finish Group. With respect to the QC response, as I outlined to Councillor Robertson and yourselves earlier on, will not be available until the new year. This is taking some time to write and to draft. I think one thing that we also have to remember is that with the response that we had from the Task and Finish Group, that was received sometime after the deadline for the consultation that ended. However, that said, I'm sure that it will be considered by the QC and will be part of his report, and I will follow that up and ensure that happens. Is that all right, Councillor Hastings?
Well, yeah, I mean, what we're referring to is the paper that arrived late to us in such a manner that was delivered by email during the committee meeting. So, of course, nobody at the committee could refer to it. Yeah, that was a fat lot of use to anybody on that committee, and it could have been delivered prior to, so that we could have actually used that as part of our discussion.
Okay. I will forward the statement that I made earlier on. I can only do that. Okay. And that. Okay.
That's fine. Thank you.
Okay. Councillor Brodie.
Oops. Right. Sorry. Yeah, just further to Councillor Hastings' question there. I'm still a little puzzled, really, as to this QC's report. It seems that Councillor Fuller and the Cabinet are sitting on something from
Question, please.
Sorry?
Is there a question, Councillor Brodie?
Yeah, yes, there is a question, and it would be helpful if Councillor Stevens didn't shout over me. I know you're not very much into democracy these days, but it would be helpful if I could ask the question without being interrupted. Okay? The QC's report was used as the basis of a lot of what was in the paper, I don't know what it's supposed to be, that was issued during the Corporate Scrutiny Committee yesterday, which suggests to me that the QC report is available at least to Councillor Fuller. So if that is the case, why is Councillor Fuller not prepared to share that with every member of this council? We have a right of access to information under the Constitution, and I certainly, as a member of the council, do not expect to be told I'm going to have to wait the best part of a month to see this QC's report. Can I have an answer to that, please? Thank you.
Yes, you may. You may. The QC has not written a final report for us.
So, well, can I just come back with a supplementary? So on what basis, if you haven't had a final report, on what basis was the paper, for want of a better phrase, the multicolored paper I received in my inbox about 8 o'clock yesterday evening, on what basis was that compiled? It refers to a QC's report on a number of occasions. So
Okay,
who was actually given advice? Who was given? All right,
Councillor
Councillor
Bacon
PC
will
Wilcox,
respond.
you keep
Councillor Bacon will
interrupting.
respond.
You know that you won't get that far with me. You keep interrupting. I want an answer, please.
And I just said Councillor Bacon will respond.
Okay, no, I want to know from the cabinet member. I know that Councillor Bacon is one of the de facto leaders of this administration, but I'd like to hear from the cabinet member.
Chair, we cannot carry on like this. We can't have members instructing this committee how we behave, who responds and when they speak. Already you've given so much grace in this meeting to allow questions when there was no purpose in our agenda, no place in our agenda for those to take place. We cannot carry on in this way, Chair.
Yeah, we were cut off last night. The reason why I requested Councillor Bacon to respond to you is because Councillor Bacon knows the answer and was actually there, so he understands it. Oh, you're gone. Okay. Councillor Bacon?
I think just because there are others listening and the question has been asked, what people seem to be willfully misunderstanding is that the QC gave oral advice on other matters relating to the consultation. Some of those matters were raised by the Task and Finish Group report, so the QC's words in that regard were employed. No written advice has yet been received from the QC in relation to the consultation, and no written advice has been received, or I think even sought yet, in relation to the Task and Finish Group report. So I think that hopefully clarifies it.
And on that note, I close the meeting. Thank you all very much.